The only thing more satisfying than defeating the evil, that is, left-wing thought, and the degenerates who weaponize it against free people, is saying to their face that we know who and what you are. Vice President JD Vance, on behalf of people of conscience everywhere, did just that. Confronting enemies of mankind, a proud moment for the United States, courtesy of the VP. That's my focus in today's preamble. The leader of the Department of Government Efficiency has been noting with horror at how the United Kingdom, ironically the birthplace of Western democratic values, has turned its back on human freedom and liberty in favor of left-wing totalitarianism. Indeed, all of Europe has abandoned the preservation of God-given rights and embraced a callous disregard for humanity that would make the Third Reich green with jealousy. In the UK, you can now be jailed and lose your freedom for posting an internet meme that apparatchiks and government find offensive. That's right. It's now illegal to offend someone or be perceived as offending someone. The justification for totalitarianism and oppression was shown for what it is in less than a 30-second soundbite from the 40th President of the United States.
From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing himself, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else?
In other words, Reagan, the Founding Fathers, and sane people know that no human being is equipped to sit in judgment of another human being's speech. Thus, in a free and worthy society, people are able to express themselves and let others decide about the validity of what's being said. The superior American saying, quote, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it," end quote, is either too sophisticated or too threatening to the totalitarian rule in the capitals of Europe. And the Vice President of the United States, with a mind toward human dignity and rights that all legitimate governments protect, highlighted Europe's crimes against humanity and how they are perceived around the rest of the free world.
A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
Back to Reagan. As he battled the bloodthirsty Soviet Union, he described one of America's strengths, and in so doing, described a major failing of the evil empire, an ugly infection that plagues Europe today.
Without God, there is no virtue because there's no prompting of the conscience. Without God, we're mired in the material, that flat world that tells us only what the senses perceive. Without God, there is a coarsening of the society. And without God, democracy will not and cannot long endure.
In Europe, the totalitarian government Stasi has not only abandoned God, they have criminalized God. And because these people, devoid of conscience, would do such a thing to God, it's why they are so comfortable committing unspeakable crimes against their own people. You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.